Pisces is the final and right from the start the oldest sign of the zodiac of the 12. And unfortunately, it doesn't mean that they don't have to learn how to live like other signs as they age, as they mature. But fortunately, what they learn as they learn to live like other signs is very helpful in minimizing the most inconvenient of the Piscean traits. I am Nadia, the astrologer for people who love and enjoy astrology without necessarily believing in it. If you're new to my channel, I invite you to watch a video I will link up to here and also in the description. And yeah, back to the Pisces. So their birthdays fall between the dates that everyone knows about. It's between the 19th of February and the 20th of March, but like with every other sign, on some years, in some places of the world, in the days that fall right outside of this range, sometimes the sun was also in Pisces. So if you were born on the 18th of February or the 21st of March, you're most likely not Pisces, but still get yourself a natal chart and check if maybe you are, because it's not impossible. So in this series that's called Adulting by the Zodiac, I talk about the stages of development that each of the 12 zodiac signs goes through as they age, as they mature, and exactly how it works I explain in the introductory video that I will link to, also in the description. But the very short version is that when you are born, you get a natal chart that will remain with you unchanged until the end of your life, and the progress chart that when you're born looks exactly like the natal chart, except that it immediately starts developing. And the stages that I'm talking about, they have to do with the movement of the progress sun in this progress chart. And so when the Pisces is born, then first the progress sun starts moving in the sun it has been in, and you know that your zodiac sign is the sign that the sun was occupying at the moment of your birth. So first it moves through whatever segment of Pisces remains for it to cover. And this is like the kindergarten stage of development. There's a lot of learning going on, but it's not that difficult because you're basically learning to be yourself. This is the only stage that can differ in length between different people based on their birthday. Then the progress sun moves into the next sign, which for Pisces is Aries. And for another 30 years, the Pisces person learns to live like Aries, which, yes, stressful. I will talk about it more in a bit. And then the progress sun moves into Taurus, and then they learn to live like a Taurus. And you guessed it, it's way more relaxed, and I will talk about it again. So let's start with this first kindergarten phase, the Pisces phase of their development, when the progress sun continues to move through Pisces. So depending on your birthday, this is how long this stage is going to last for you. And yeah, the main Piscean trait that manifests fully already in the in children and in adolescents, if they're Pisces, is their impressionability. They are so sensitive, so perceptive that almost anything can impress them deeply. So they can zone out, for example, looking at the shadows on the walls, or still feel like they are in some magical world after listening to a bedtime story or reading something, or they can get seriously upset listening or hearing their parents fight, or they can hypnotize themselves with the doodles. And then in this stage, they can forget to eat, to drink, to rest, to stop at the right time. Yeah, which, you know, not very good for the bladder, maybe. They learn to dream and to use their imagination earlier than their peers. people, children of the same age. And with their fantasies, they can create in themselves strong, powerful emotions such as awe or fear or enthusiasm or a sense of doom. This is how much power they have over their own emotional state. They are also idealistic, gentle, sensitive creatures, which sometimes makes them vulnerable. So they would sometimes be the children who believe a lot of what their parents say, or what the other children at preschool say, and end up feeling foolish. They're also not very good at defending their interests in open confrontation, and in general can feel like they are living in the shadow of their more assertive peers, relatives, like they are being overpowered by someone who's more powerful. And taken together, this sometimes creates in others this sense that the Piscean child should be protected from the cruel world. So sensitive and angelic they are, but those angelic creatures have such a powerful imagination, and this imagination has such power over them that it creates a kind of an alternative reality through which facts are difficult to access and acknowledge. So in some situations when Pisces behaves poorly towards other people, they can not notice it or refuse to acknowledge it. And then also, because in their alternative reality, or like the story that plays in their minds, they are the good person, and whatever not so good thing they could have done, it basically pales into comparison compared to what their opponents have done, or maybe compared to what they imagine their opponents have done. This is also possible. And also, like I said, they're not very good at defending themselves in open confrontation. So when their misdeeds or mistakes are pointed out, they, instead of getting into an argument, tend to shut down, which also is sometimes irritating. So my point is that they can be troublemakers, but they're more like ignorant troublemakers rather than spiteful troublemakers. They also, because of their sensitivity, tend to absorb everything that's floating around. So if there is something seriously wrong in the family, they may get physical symptoms or psychological symptoms and be like the carrier of the family symptom. And those problems may disappear as the tension in the family disappears. Of course, they do much better in a gentler, more loving environment where their imagination and their sensitivity are cherished. No question about that. Also, very receptive to love, can really flourish in a good environment. But to be fair, even in the not so good environment, very often their very powerful psychological defense mechanisms are defending them and can still allow them to feel like they actually live a good life. That is, of course, unless they are treated very badly, so everything has its limits. Yeah. And this is maybe also the part where it's good to say that there are basically two types of Pisces. Two planets rule the sign Pisces. So there are Pisces who have a better affinity with the Neptune, which is the more mystical, transcendental planet. And there are those who are more connected to the magnanimous Jupiter, to the largest planet in the solar system, and to the planet of luck and abundance and such. So those who are more influenced by Jupiter tend to be more optimistic and also luckier. Those that are more influenced by Neptune are more sensitive, but also poetic. Neither is in a reliably good contact with reality. But I would go as far as to say that contact with reality is not and should not be the priority at this stage of the Piscean development. So this stage is about being impressed, collecting impressions, being receptive, finding whatever can be a source of the sense of wonder and magic, and getting lost in whatever impresses them. Yeah. Then, at some point, the progressed sun moves from Pisces to the next sign of Aries, and then the second school stage of development, the 30 years long stage of development, begins. And depending on your date of birth, this is which 30 years of your life this stage is going to occupy, approximately. So Aries is the sign of a warrior. And even in the life story of the gentle Pisces, this is the time when the Pisces can learn to stand up for themselves, but also to fight back and maybe even take something from somebody else. So by the end of the previous stage, the Pisces may get tired of taking the hits, of trying to be the good one, and they may feel like they've had enough. So they have accumulated a small reservoir of anger and resentment, which they can use as fuel. And at first, their attempts at displaying this new fighting spirit may come short or overshoot. But with time, Pisces learns how to get in contact with their inner warrior, and how to learn how to wield the sword of this inner warrior in a competent, effective manner. A long process, but it's worth it. This is not a comfortable phase, not just because their intentions become more combative, but also because the circumstances of their lives become more filled with conflict, stress. What I want to say is that if previously reality may seem like it was charmed by Piscean imagination and fantasies, and temporarily did not confront the Pisces as much, now this is not the case. And the difference between the fantasy reality, which is its own form of reality, and reality of facts becomes obvious. And for some Pisces, it may come as a shock. For some other Pisces, it may confirm the vague, uneasy feelings that they were already having. In any way, it is the time of stress and of increased adrenaline levels. And this is uncomfortable, and this is unpleasant. And of course, Pisces would rather spend those 30 years in paradise rather than in a chronic state of stress. But it's a necessary training without which it is hard to imagine that a Pisces could develop in a well-rounded adult person. Also, Pisces is a visionary, and they can develop visions that motivate themselves, but they are also capable of creating visions that would motivate other people as well. And this often puts them into positions of leadership, which at this stage it's very appropriate because Aries is the leader sign, the pioneer, the one who leads. And yes, at this stage, sometimes Pisces, wear this mask of a leader, even if deep down they know that in 500 years what they're doing will not matter. They still do it because this is the way. And this is also the right way, and it's also a very good training for the Pisces, and it can also be good for, you know, other people as well. Yeah, any sign is very different to its neighbors, but with Pisces and Aries, the difference is kind of ridiculous. How radical it is. Pisces, for example, tend to unconsciously or consciously want to dissolve in whatever they find attractive, whereas Aries shows itself and expresses itself clearly and visibly. And the 30 Aries years in the life of the Pisces is the time when they discover themselves and discover their own boundaries. And they do this through some form of struggle. So through their boundaries being violated, or through defending them, or through maintaining them. And this is a long process, and again, blah, blah, difficult, unpleasant, necessary. So in addition, Aries is also the sign of the eye, right? So at this stage, not only they discover themselves, but they also sometimes become very self-centered, which sometimes may seem hypocritical, but is actually necessary and carries a function. One of those functions is that it keeps the Pisces from dissolving into a relationship or some collective endeavor or religion or, I don't know, entertainment, drugs, whatever. This is also a time in a Piscean life when the Pisces person develops the desire to win. Very exciting. And some form of competitiveness can be also very important at this stage of their lives. Basically, this is the stage where they behave and look least like themselves, least like Pisces. And by the end of this stage, you know, exciting, necessary, again, but they may feel like they have hardened and burnt out. And they also may develop a feeling that the life they are living does not feel like their own life. Something is off. And then the progress sun moves into the next sign, which for Pisces is Taurus. So the third university stage of development begins in their life. So depending on your birthday, this is how long this stage, this is which 30 years of your life this stage will occupy. This is the time for a Pisces to calm down and find peace. And the peaceful, tranquil state of mind is desirable for both Taurus and Pisces, but there is a difference. So the more watery peace that the Pisces may look for in the first stage of their life is hardly attainable. So it cannot really be created or discovered in our material world. But the earthly qualities of Taurus can allow the Pisces at this Taurus stage of their lives to organize and build some relatively heavenly corner on the earth, which is theirs and that exists in the actual physical world. And finding or creating peace on the physical, material level can help find emotional tranquility. Or at least make it more attainable. Also good enough. Taurus is also the sign of the body. And the Taurus stage of development for a Pisces can be a time when they emerge from this alternative reality, when everyone can be a superhero, or I don't know, we all unicorns or souls or universal souls or some other non-anthropomorphic creatures, into the world where we actually have a body. And this is the time when they can start identifying with their body, which they may have had problems before. And yes, this may start because the demands of the body or the needs of the body become impossible to ignore. So maybe something hurts, but it can also be a positive process, like the time of discovering their own physicality and the time of developing a unity between the soul and the body and such, and then you start paying more attention to it and invest into it and see results, etc. That's basically a pleasant process. And Taurus is in general a pleasant sign. So at this stage, the Pisces may slow down and ground themselves and learn how to enjoy the simple physical pleasures. And all of that can serve as a remedy for the stress they had to endure in the previous Aries phase in their lives. And it gets better. Taurus is also associated with the money. And at this stage, the Pisces person can pay more attention to their financial well-being and invest more into into building their financial well-being. There is also a negative option, which I don't see very often, but it exists. It's if by the time this Taurus phase begins, Pisces has ruined themselves tremendously financially, then at this stage they may be very unhappy about it because their attention is suddenly at the money and the money is not there. But more often than not, all other things being equal, the Pisces person is more likely to reach financial success at this Taurus stage in their lives. The kind of semi-negative quality of Taurus is that they are considered to be more rigid and inflexible than many other signs. So, for example, if you take Pisces, Aries, and Taurus, then Taurus is the one who is more likely to be rigid and inflexible, reluctant to change. Therefore, ideally, the Pisces person would have to, in the first years of this Taurus stage, establish themselves into something good. So a good psychological state, or healthy practices and habits, or constructive goals and activities. And if they succeed in this, there is a very high chance that they would also be able to maintain it for many years, like for decades. That was it about the Taurus phase. Then theoretically, like practically as well actually, the progressed sun is moving further from the Taurus sign to the Gemini sign and then starts another phase. But for most people it starts so late that I don't have experience with it, so I'll leave it for some other series. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. As a young YouTuber, I very much appreciate any sharing that you're doing, and also the comments actually improve visibility, which I did not think it was a thing, but it's actually a thing. So please like it if you like it. And then in the next video, I will be talking about one of the air signs. There are only 2 left. Yes, see you then. And again, thank you for watching.